So many new cars this week, and that's thanks to the New York Auto Show. We have the new facelifted Palisade, we have the Telluride, and of course the Kia Niro, and that's the one we're going to talk about in this video. And of course the Lamborghini Huracan Technica, so I guess you can expect a lot of videos on this channel this week. But this video we're going to focus on the US version of the Kia Niro. I'm going to show you all around the design from the front, side and the rear and let you know my thoughts of it. I'm also going to show you the sketches because I think these sketches are really important to this car and show you how the sketch itself turned into the production version and what was kept from the sketch into the production. I think they did a really good job with that right here. So let's talk about some of the spec and tech first. It comes as an EV model as well with a decent range of 253 miles, which is probably the one that I would personally go for. The Niro just feels right as a funky little EV. The standard powertrain will still be a hybrid, and that comes equipped with a 139 horsepower, 1.6 little 4-cylinder engine, a 6-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. They even threw in an electric motor in there and front wheel drive. And this base version is what you want if you're not feeling that EV vibe but still want to get great MPG, as it should receive an estimated 53 miles per gallon. That's 3 miles per gallon up from the old version. But the EV is still my favorite here if we're talking about the new Kia Niro, and it's pretty quick too because it has a 201 horsepower electric motor powered by a 64.8 kilowatt hour battery pack. It will also support DC fast charging, which means it can technically recharge from 10 to 80, the typical numbers, 10 to 80% in about 45 minutes. It's got a really fun and expressive design, this car, not just on the exterior but also on the interior. And that's what we're going to talk about in just a minute. In addition, it's also a little bigger than the outgoing model, and that should help with some of the interior space. All versions of the 2023 Niro will go on sale here in the US this summer. So let's jump into Photoshop and let's have a look at these sketches, because I love these sketches. This is what sketches like these are, the sketches that made me interested in design when I was a kid. I saw sketches like this and I was like, how do they draw these beautiful things? Every single sketch right here, and usually when it comes to production cars, to me they are a piece of art. These are sketches that I would love to hang on my wall and just have as art throughout my house. So you can see it's a typical, designer sketch. The designers always want to plant the car properly on the ground. You can see just how far the tire here sticks out, for example, and on the other side as well. Massive, these are probably 24-inch wheels or something like that, but it's all to sell the concept. And looking at it from a front view, we have some really cool graphic features in the front end. We have a grille that sits above the headlights, which is something I haven't seen before. And then we have this very distinct design feature, which is the daytime running lights going down there, and then you have the headlight itself in the same housing. Pretty cool design. Looking at it from the rear view, again, these are, I think it looks like these are a little later sketches than these in the development, but you also need to keep in mind that when you do sketches like this and when you see these sketches of production cars, usually what happens is the car comes out and the car is ready, the brand already know what it's gonna look like, and then the designers make these promotional sketches after the fact that the car is actually already done. So we rarely see the initial brainstorm sketches, which is would be interesting to see. Those are the ones that I'm really interested in seeing. What kind of direction could this, in this case the Kia Niro, have gone in? But it's still very cool to see. And these specific sketches here, they feel so expressive to me. For example, just a little detail I want to show you when it comes to artistic value in these sketches. You have this brushed kind of brush that they used for the surfacing here, which gives it a bit of a cool texture. And you also have, it looks like it's backlit, so the light is coming from here, creating this nice silhouette of white that kind of separates it from the background. It's beautiful touches that to me makes these sketches pieces of art. So now let's have a look at the production version, and then I'm gonna show you the sketch and compare it to the production version. And last but not least, we're gonna talk a little bit about the interior, because they have some fun in South Korea right now designing Kias and Hyundais, and I just want to show you the interior here as well. So looking at the front view, this is a funky little car, and this is what I think Kia and Hyundai are probably the top brands right now, creating fun, exciting designs. You can tell by the sketches and also by the production car that designers are having a lot of fun in South Korea these days. And this is no different. So we have this style right here. As I said, this is kind of the first time I see the grill of the car sitting on top of the headlight and the daytime running lights. So that's something new, and this is the typical tiger nose design. As you can see right here, we have this feature, a clear, identifying feature of the Kia Niro. I haven't seen this specific outline shape of a daytime running light and headlight in any other car. So I think this is going to be really cool to see, specifically at night when you have this lit up, this little design right here, this LED that goes inside of the housing. And of course the headlights are just there as an additional piece to have the functionality of, lighting up the road ahead of you. But you can clearly tell that this, just by looking at this front face and going back maybe 5, maybe even 10 years, you can still clearly see that this is a Kia. And I think Kia is doing a great job really establishing or cementing their design DNA in their entire lineup. We're going to talk about the Telluride in another video this week as well, and they have also a really good design there, and I think the facelift that they did there is spot on. More on that later this week. So let's have a look at the side view. This to me looks like a proper funky hatchback, and the thing with this design is that it is a hybrid or an EV, and what this tells me is that all hybrids and EVs, they don't have to look like a bean. This looks like a proper hatchback, and since it comes with both a little engine in the front and EV, they're not going to change the design just because it's an EV or an internal combustion engine. They all have the same car, and they're all very efficient. 256 or 253 miles for the EV with a traditional hatchback shape like this. That means that we don't have to have the A-pillar sticking all the way to this point like we have on a lot of EVs these days. It kind of gets a little boring seeing all the EVs, a lot of EVs coming out these days and looking like a bean shape, like a cylinder with 2 wheels on there, like a little bubble. This is great. I'm really happy that Kia went in this direction instead of kind of like they did with the EV6, to be honest, to have that bean shape like they have on that car. I also like this graphic here, that it is an accent piece, and it reminds me of the Golf GTI or the Golf hatchback, which has the C-pillar being a very important part of that design. And it's I feel like they took inspiration from that and applied it even more, emphasized that little detail even more of the car, surfacing of the car, to make it a different color. And the graphics also connect to the front right here, and then continues into the side and then up on the side here as well. So it's not something that sticks out, it has a connection to everything else on the car as well. Looking at the rear view, I love these taillights. This is the same as in the front view. You're gonna definitely recognize this car at night. It's a beautiful looking design, and it just looks, as I said, like the designers of South Korea, of Hyundai and Kia, are having a lot of fun sketching these cars these days. It doesn't have to be too complicated. You can still make a cool looking EV like this and play around a lot with the graphics, the proportions. It doesn't matter if it looks like any other hatchback. What could separate your brand are these graphic details that we have a great example of right here in the Kia Niro. Quickly, just want to show you the sketch to production. So up here we have the sketch, obviously, and down here we have the production version, and I think they did a good job transforming the sketch into production. Obviously, we need to have the 24 inches on the sketch to sell this design planted on the ground. That's what I say all the time. The right wheels on a car can either make or break a design. So let's see what would happen if we make these wheels on the production version. almost the same size as what we have on this sketch. So it looks a lot cooler. Maybe it's probably not gonna have a 250-mile range with massive wheels like this, but it looks pretty cool having some big wheels on there. Of course, you gotta work on the fenders to have them be housed correctly. This looks like a really bad redesign of this car, but I just wanted to make the point and what it looks like if we took the sketch and turned it into the production version, and how close they really are when it comes to proportions, and also of course the graphics. And I think I would go with something like this when it comes to the spec. Have a very distinct C-pillar like this, because I love that it's connected. I think it has to be connected to the Golf GTI. I think that's what they thought about when they designed that piece. And it makes this car just stand out with a splash of color among all the grays, white, black cars that we see out on the roads. Finally, let's have a look at the interior. I do like the old interior here. It looks clean, it looks proper, it looks maybe a little too traditional, but still, it is Kia, so I don't expect them to go too crazy with this design. We have I think this is a digital gauge cluster, and then you have the infotainment in the middle. Angles and everything, the graphics look pretty standard, but look what they did here with the new generation Kia Niro. You have a point in this design where you feel like the energy is being pulled, almost like a bow. You're stretching a bow, and you have this where your fingers are, you have that tight point where all the energy goes to, and that point would be this corner. So it feels like someone is pulling this corner this way and stretching the entire interior and creating this very asymmetrical design that I really like in this case. Usually I don't like when they have big screens like this, but it still feels like this has been designed and integrated well into the overall shape of this design. It's not just an iPad that's been slapped on top of whatever nice curvatures you have in the otherwise are in the dash, and then you have this square iPad sticking out like an eyesore. This is actually very nicely integrated in the design. So overall, I'm really happy that Kia decided to release this in the US now as an EV as well, and I'm really excited for the design and for the designers themselves. It feels like they're having fun designing cars again, and that's, I think, what we need in today's market. Can't wait to see this out on the road. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.